I grew up in Claremont County, Ohio, spending most of my free time out in the woods and along the creeks, hunting for fossils. It was the kind of place where you could disappear for hours. Just you, your dogs, and the quiet rhythm of water moving over stone. But it was never truly quiet. There were so many times I'd be crouched down, sifting through shale or scanning the creek bed, when this feeling would creep in, like I wasn't alone. Not just the normal, someone might be nearby kind of feeling. Something heavier, focused, intent, like eyes locked on me from somewhere just beyond the tree line. I'd stop what I was doing and look up, scanning the woods. Nothing. No movement. No sound. But my dogs knew. Normally, they'd bolt the second they picked up on another person, barking, chasing, making a scene. But out there, in those moments, they did the exact opposite. They stayed glued to my side, quiet, alert, watching the woods the same way I was, but with a kind of caution I'd never seen in them before. And then there were the structures. I didn't think much of them at the time, just odd. Thick branches, far too heavy for a person to casually move, twisted and stacked in strange formations. Some leaned together like crude shelters, others bent in ways that didn't make sense. The thing that always stood out was how they were broken, not cut. Snapped with force, splintered at the ends, like something powerful had shaped them rather than tools. Back then, I brushed it off. Kids don't tend to jump straight to the impossible. But looking back now, it all feels different. Because years later, as an adult, I packed up and moved all the way out to the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State, right into one of the most famous Bigfoot hotspots in the world. At the time, I joked that I was finally putting myself in the right place if I ever wanted to have an encounter. I was chasing the mystery. What never once crossed my mind was the possibility that I'd already been surrounded by it, that those quiet woods in Ohio, the feeling of being watched, my dogs refusing to leave my side, those massive, broken structures. Maybe I wasn't searching for something new at all. Maybe it had been there the whole time, watching me grow up, just out of sight. I've only told this story a handful of times, and even now, it still doesn't sit right with me. This happened in southern Missouri, not far from the Arkansas border. It was broad daylight, no shadows to hide in, no tricks of the dark to explain anything away. I was out on my land, keeping an ear out because we'd had issues with people trespassing before. When I first heard the footsteps, that's exactly what I thought it was. Poachers. Slow, deliberate steps. Close enough to get my attention, but not close enough to see through the trees. So I stopped what I was doing and waited. I stayed completely still, listening, watching, letting whoever it was make the next move. Minutes passed, then more. Eventually, I realized I'd been standing there for over an hour, just locked in, tracking every little sound. And the whole time, the noise kept coming from one direction. That's why I almost missed it, because when I finally saw it, it wasn't where the sound was. It was behind me, off to the side, no more than 25 feet away, and it was already walking off. I didn't hear it approach, not a twig snap, not a breath, nothing. What I saw didn't make sense. It was massive, easily 8 to 9 feet tall, with shoulders so broad they looked unnatural, like they didn't belong on anything that should be able to move that quietly. Its body was covered in medium-length fur, dark brown, so dark it was almost black in the light. Its head, that's what stuck with me. There was no visible neck, just a straight rise from those huge shoulders into a cone-shaped head that seemed to taper upward. Not human. Not anything I'd ever seen before. I was looking at its back as it moved away, long, steady strides, like it knew exactly where it was going, and like it had nothing to fear. That's when it hit me. The footsteps I'd been hearing for the past hour. Weren't it? Whatever I was watching had been there the whole time, close enough to reach out and touch me if it wanted to. Watching me. Studying me. While something else, somewhere else, kept my attention pulled away. We've got cattle, and I know every sound they make. This wasn't that. This was controlled, intentional, and I couldn't move. I just stood there, completely frozen, trying to process what I was seeing, what I hadn't heard, because something that big shouldn't be able to move like that. It disappeared into the trees without a sound, like it was never there at all. But I know what I saw, and whatever it was, it knew I was there long before I ever knew it was. I'm in Berkshire, England, and I've had 2 experiences in the woods at night that I've never been able to explain. Not properly. Not in a way that makes them feel any less real. The first one is the hardest to describe. I was out in the woods after dark, the kind of quiet where every small sound carries. No wind, no movement, just that stillness you only get deep out there at night. Then it came. Not a growl, a roar. And I don't mean something you could mistake for a deer or a fox or anything we're used to hearing in the UK. This was different. It was deep, impossibly deep, like it came from something with enormous lungs. It rolled through the trees and across the ground, and when it hit me, it wasn't just sound. It was physical. I got goosebumps, but not the normal kind. It felt like every cell in my body reacted at once, like a vibration went straight through me. My chest tightened, my skin prickled. For a moment, I couldn't even think straight. It felt wrong, like hearing something that didn't belong in this world, and it wasn't far. Maybe 100 yards. Close enough that I knew, whatever made that sound, if it wanted to, it could be on me in seconds. I didn't stick around long after that. The second time was different, but just as unsettling. I was night fishing, set up on the bank across from a small island completely covered in trees. It was around midnight, pitch black except for the faint reflection off the water. That's when I heard it. Something big moving on the island, branches snapping, heavy footfalls, not random crashing like an animal wandering through brush. This had weight to it, rhythm, direction. It sounded bipedal, like something walking upright, pushing through the trees with force, and it was moving fast. It charged through the island, straight toward the edge, toward me, and then suddenly stopped. Dead opposite where I was sitting. Silence. I couldn't see anything. Not a shape, not a shadow. But I could feel it. That same sensation, like being watched, intently, focused, like whatever it was had locked onto me and was just observing, waiting. I didn't move. I barely breathed. The water was still. The trees were still. But the feeling didn't go away. Eventually, whatever it was backed off. I didn't hear it leave clearly, just a gradual return of normal sound, like the woods were releasing tension. I packed up not long after that. I've spent enough time out there to know the difference between imagination and instinct, between normal and something else. And both times it felt like I'd brushed up against something that wasn't meant to be seen. Something that was there, but just out of reach of human senses. There are things in those woods, things we don't understand, and maybe things we're not supposed to.